I set off with the best of intentions, a steady, sure assault, a brutal but brief foray to explore the surroundings, uncover the secrets, neutralise the target, non-lethally, naturally, and withdraw as silently as I arrived. In truth, however, it's never like this. Corvo may be a deadly assassin, but in my stewardship, he's typically more a fight-than-flight kind of guy, usually because I fell off a beam, missed a headshot, or mistimed a spell, and we usually make our excuses and leave in a hail of bullets and blood, and curse words muttered through gritted teeth. I rinsed the original Dishonored. There were life things going on at the time, life things that weren't fun, life things that I wanted to hide from, and Arcane's beautifully bleak Dunwall was perfect for that. It's a world stuffed with hidden charms, every corner and crevice curled around another secret, a different perspective, a new opportunity.
That didn't kill you?
I crept across every corner of that dank, Dickensian place, but I never quite managed to pull off my explorations as the ghost-like apparition I'd hoped for. For some, Corvo disappears as mysteriously as he appears. When my Corvo disappears, he leaves a tangle of bone and blood in his wake.
Show your true face, monster! No use running! He's wounded! Let's finish him!
If you're looking for something different this time around, you won't find it here. Dishonored 2 takes all that makes the original game one of my favourite games of the generation and builds carefully, lovingly and delicately upon that greatness. Arcane has retained the things that made Dishonored an exquisitely crafted experience. Each character, each environment is achingly realised, but each with its own cartoon, exaggerated grotesqueness. There's a larger-than-lifeness that sits at odds with the hyper-realism purported by other contemporary titles, but at the same time, it's beautifully made, with as much care dedicated to the game's internal playsets as those outside it.
Or maybe you're after washed-up Anton Sokolov, comfortably residing in the assessment chamber.
The issue here is that Dishonored does not lend itself well to pick-up-and-play sensibilities. The story is dark, the mechanics complex, and so preview events herald an artificiality that make it difficult to fully immerse yourself. I actively disliked the preview I played at E3 2012. There was just too much going on. Mana, life, documents, enemies whose masks still haunt me, by the way. I was overwhelmed and underprepared, and I lasted about 10 minutes in that preview before I threw down my controller in disgust. I admit now, I was wrong. But as any preview event, time is an enemy here, and whilst exploring Dunwall's dark, dank exteriors was so thrilling, here in Dishonored 2's Karnaca, I had to be content with exploring indoors, with only a brief glimpse of sun-bleached Karnaca as my electric rail cart pulls me into the chapter and right to the door of my enemy. It's here I would typically scope out a building, seeking a balcony here, an open window there, but alas, it's not to be. On this occasion, we unceremoniously slip into the Clockwork Mansion via the front door. 15 years after the events of Dunwall sees you reprise your role as the monosyllabic Corvo Atano, but this time you can also assume the role of Empress Emily Coldwim. Our task? To locate and safely retrieve our old pal Anton Sokolov from the new foe, Jindosh, a devilish inventor keen on mechanical engineering and early robotic experimentation.
Anything for you.
As is often the case with Dishonored, this is easier said than done. On first glance, the mansion is a typical set piece you may faintly recognise from any number of the rich, opulent interiors found in Dunwall. But here, the whole home presents itself as a giant puzzle. In order to locate Sokolov, movement around the building necessitates reconfiguring the rooms by way of the many levers situated around the home. Of course, that's not the only thing in your way. While Dishonored vets may be accustomed to listening out for the low murmurings and complaints of posted guards, here we're also presented with clockwork soldiers, miniature Tallboy-esque robots equipped with frenzied firepower and acute artificial senses intent on taking you out as quickly and as painfully as possible. Emily is faster than Corvo, though some powers are shared, others are not, and while I'm still unable to progress ghost-like, I don't think I'll ever be able to finish undetected. The way you play may indeed be influenced by who you choose to play as. While Corvo blinks, Emily far reaches, a new ability that flings out a tentacle that not only helps her traverse quickly and silently, but also offensively too. While Corvo bends time, Emily can domino her assaults, snapping the necks of 3 men as she snaps one. Emily's Shadow Walk imitates Corvo's possession power, sort of, but instead of infiltrating grates by possessing a rat, Emily's able to dissipate into a thin, nebulous smoke and squeeze through narrow gaps or escape detection. No 2 playthroughs will be the same. No 2 executions feel duplicated. Each visit is a new slate, offering a fresh opportunity.
Let me demonstrate. Purge my officer's commission. You won't get away. Come back here.
Silent protagonists often get a bad rap. Think of Dead Space, Isaac Clarke, just for starters. But I never minded Corvo's grim, determined silence. I'm clearly in the minority, however, as this new iteration sees Corvo add colour to his predicament with low observations or rebuttals to an antagonist's ramblings. It's tactfully done and reveals some of the thoughts tumbling around our protag's heads without drowning the story in extraneous exposition.
An army of his clockwork soldiers. He can't be permitted to build it.
He won't. I'll be paying him a visit momentarily.
What doesn't change is how others interact to the character you inhibit. Jin Dosh responds to your arrival just the same, regardless of whether you're Corvo or Emily, and Sokolov, too, is suitably unconcerned by the person you inhabit. It's good to know your story isn't affected by the contents of your pants, but by the same token, that compulsion to replay may not be as strong as first thought. Once again, you control how this story unfolds, the tale, the tone, the time it takes. You decide the route, the reasons, and serve as judge, jury, and potential executor to all who cross your path.
We'll need the floor and my acoustic sensors view quite quickly.
I don't want to die. Oh.
While I was still rifling through desk drawers and exploring kitchen cupboards, people around me had already completed their first objective. But that's the thing about Dishonored. It's not a race, it's a dance.